Discuss Tony Perkins, president of the Research Council. You know, Tony, I got to tell you, it's really amazing that everyone in this country gets free speech except churches and pastors, even big businesses after the Citizens United decision by the Supreme Court.
Well, government sees God, I guess, as competition. They don't want the church actively speaking about politics, whether it be policy or whether it be candidates. But what we've seen, Charles, over the last, it's been a few decades. But we have issues like life, marriage, religious liberty. These are issues that are inherently spiritual, moral, but the political class, the elite, have declared these to be political issues, and now they're slapping the hands of churches if they start talking to these issues or challenging candidates who are on the wrong side of the issues.
And considering that the next president may be able to select up to 4 Supreme Court justices, it should be really important that the church, that the religious voices are heard on these things, right?
Absolutely, without question. That's why this coming Sunday is the Pulpit Freedom Sunday. I'm the national spokesman for that, and we'll have thousands of pastors across the country participating in this and speaking freely from the pulpit. Look, the pulpit needs to be free to speak to the issues of our day, and that means the candidates as well. Look, the IRS, these bureaucrats, should not serve as bouncers to the door of free speech or religious freedom. This is a right that every American has, and simply because you stand behind a pulpit should not mean that you lose it, or that someone could take a law that was passed back in 1954 and use it to intimidate you into silence.
Tony, why is it that so many people take this law, as gospel, no pun intended, and say that that the Constitution prohibits the intervention or the involvement of church into state matters?
Right. Yeah, the author of this was opposite of the author of the Gospels, but this issue was exploited. 1954, Lyndon Johnson had some opposition in his election as senator, and so he slipped this in when he was majority leader in the Senate. Did not get any debate, did not get a hearing in committee. But since that time, you've had left-leaning groups, anti-Christian groups, Freedom from Religion Foundation, others that have exploited this. In fact, just recently, they sued the IRS to enforce the Johnson Amendments. One of those things I wouldn't be surprised if the IRS asked them to sue them. And so since then, they put together this committee to investigate churches, and they've been hiding behind this veil of secrecy. Apparently, they have 99 entities that they're looking at, but Alliance Defending Freedom has them in court, has asked used the Freedom of Information Act request to get this information, has not been able to get the bottom of it, has not been able to identify who those 99 are. But it's, again, Charles, it's more intimidation than anything, because there are constitutional rights that pastors and churches have, but so many are afraid, and the left, again, exploits this. We just need to make this go away so that pastors and churches are free to speak to the issues of our day. Now, they cannot become political action committees. That's not what this does. It simply restores their freedom of speech.
Let me, we've got just 30 seconds, but something came up today, and I wanted to ask you about it. Bulgaria joining the Netherlands and France in banning burqas. Of course, we're starting to see some backlash against certain aspects of multiculturalism here. Could or should a law like that ever exist in America?
I think we have to make our laws based upon, in this case, public safety. If we decide that this is an issue driven by public safety, then we have to go after that threat to public safety and national security. We have to be careful that we don't, across the board, ban religious symbols, or that we have to treat all religions the same in terms of those things that could pose national security problems. Look, when we look at what's happening here in terrorism, it's radical Islamist. It's Islamic terrorism that is a threat to this country. We need to be able to talk about that. We need to go after it. We should not allow political correctness, and nor should we allow religious freedom to be used as a guard to try to undermine this country from a national security standpoint.
Tony Perkins, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
All right, Charles.